Hey everyone, before we dive in, please hit that subscribe button to join my channel and stay updated with more stories like this. My name is Antonia Williams, and I'm 35 years old. For the last 2.5 years, I've been in a relationship with Gordon, who's 33. To the outside world, he was the full package: polished suits, a thriving career in consulting, and a charismatic grin that pulled people in like a magnet. But beneath the glossy exterior, there was a hidden reality. I was the one keeping his life on track. I wasn't his housekeeper, his assistant, or his counselor. I was his partner. Yet more often than not, I felt like I was playing all those roles. When his car started making odd noises, I was the one dialing the mechanic. When his laptop kept crashing, I spent late nights troubleshooting and updating it. For his big work presentations, I'd sit with him, red pen ready, perfecting every slide until he felt unstoppable. And when stress weighed him down, I was his anchor, his motivator, his reminder that he wasn't facing the world alone. I told myself this was love, showing up, giving endlessly, supporting him, especially since his income dwarfed mine. Gordon could afford fancy dinners and weekend escapes, so I convinced myself my role was the unseen labor, the kind that holds someone together. 3 weeks ago, it was a Thursday evening. Gordon had a critical presentation the next day, one that could make or break his shot at a promotion. I'd been at his apartment since late afternoon, warming up his takeout when he forgot to eat, fixing his sluggish laptop, and rehearsing his speech word for word until he nailed it. I wanted him to shine. By the time everything was set, my eyes were stinging with fatigue, but I still managed to smile. This is worth it, I thought. This is what partnership looks like. So, when I casually brought up my best friend's upcoming wedding and asked if he'd confirmed as my plus one, I wasn't ready for his response. Gordon didn't even glance at me. He let out a heavy sigh and mumbled, "Yeah, about that." "You're not coming." I froze. "What do you mean I'm not coming? We've been planning this for months." That's when he leaned back, massaged his temples, and unleashed words that still ricochet in my heart like broken shards. "Antonia, we need to talk. You're always there, always messaging, always checking in, always helping. It's overwhelming. You're clingy. Honestly, it's pathetic. You don't have a life of your own. You're consumed by me." That word, pathetic, cut deeper than any wound I'd ever felt. I stood there, takeout bag still in hand, staring at the man I'd poured my soul into as he reduced it all to neediness. My throat tightened, but my voice came out quiet, almost too steady. "I see." Gordon waved me off. "Don't make a big deal out of this. I'm not ending things. I just need some breathing room. Find your own interests. Stop hovering." I wanted to yell, to demand how he could turn my devotion into a flaw, my love into shame. But instead, something inside me split open and a strange clarity flooded in. I placed the takeout bag on his counter. "You'll have all the space you need," I said softly. He rolled his eyes, irritated by my tone. "See, this is what I'm talking about. You always make everything a drama." I didn't argue. I didn't cry. I just grabbed my coat, walked out of his apartment, and closed the door behind me. That night, alone in my bed, I made a decision. If Gordon wanted space, I'd give him exactly that, not a bit less, not a bit more. Exactly. And I'd soon discover that silence speaks louder than words. The first thing I did when I got home was simple. I turned off read receipts. No more seen at 11:02 p.m. No more proof I was at his beck and call. Gordon would text into a void, and for the first time in 2.5 years, he'd have to navigate life without my instant replies. I didn't block him. That would have been too loud, too easy for him to spin into evidence of my immaturity. Instead, I vanished quietly, cleanly. By Friday morning, his first message came. "Thanks for understanding last night. Catch up later." I stared at it, then archived the chat. Not deleted, not blocked, just tucked away out of sight. Saturday brought another. "Hey, you okay?" Still, I said. Nothing. By Sunday, his tone shifted. "Antonia, I said I needed space, not total silence. Can you act like an adult?" Adult? The word made me scoff. For years, being an adult meant being his safety net, his unofficial assistant, his comfort zone. Now, my silence was somehow childish. The irony was almost amusing. What Gordon didn't know and what made me smile faintly in the dark was that I'd been planning something special. Next month, I was going to surprise him with a vintage Omega watch, the kind he'd always lingered over in store windows. I'd already contacted the seller, already paid the deposit, a token of my commitment. On Monday morning, I returned it and got my deposit back. The moment the watch was out of my hands, I felt a burden lift, one I hadn't even realized I was carrying. With silence came freedom. I enrolled in a pottery class I'd always put off because weekends were reserved for Gordon. I dragged out my old easel, brushed the dust off paints that had sat untouched in my apartment for years. I even attended my niece's piano recital, the kind of event I'd skip too often because Gordon needed help with some urgent work crisis. For the first time in ages, I wasn't revolving around anyone. I was just me. Meanwhile, Gordon's texts kept coming. By Tuesday, they grew sharp. Are you really giving me the silent treatment? This is immature, Antonia. By Wednesday, fine. Be like that. Then, a crack in his facade. Thursday afternoon, exactly 1 week after I walked out, his car broke down again. Antonia, my car's making that noise again. Can you remind me what you did last time? I read it once, twice, then locked my phone. No response. That evening, I went out with friends I hadn't seen in months. We sipped cheap wine, laughed until my sides ached, and when someone asked about Gordon, I simply said he needed space. It was the truth. The silence wasn't just working against him, it was working for me. Each day I didn't reply, I felt lighter. Each day I didn't justify myself, I grew stronger. And each day, Gordon's texts became more desperate. Silence is a peculiar thing. At first, it's just emptiness. Then it becomes a mirror. By the end of the second week, Gordon was staring into that mirror and despising what he saw. It started small, his car. Normally, I'd be the one checking the oil, sourcing parts, watching YouTube tutorials late into the night to keep his ancient BMW running. Without me, that noise he'd ignored grew worse. The engine finally quit. Tow truck, $1,800 bill. Then the mechanic found 3 more issues I'd been quietly tracking for months. Another $2,400. I heard about it later through a mutual friend. Apparently, Gordon muttered, Antonia would have sorted this for $30. His next stumble was at work. The follow-up presentation, the one he boasted would lock in his promotion, was a mess. Usually, I'd be there the night before, marking up his slides, coaching him on delivery, catching errors he missed. This time, he went in overconfident and unprepared. He fumbled, mispronounced terms, froze on questions. His boss wasn't impressed. By the end of the week, instead of a promotion, he was told he'd be reassessed later. His text to me spiraled. First demanding, Antonia, answer me. My computer's freezing again. Then defensive. This silent treatment is manipulative. It's emotional abuse. Then pleading, please, I'm sorry for what I said. I didn't mean pathetic. I meant too available. You know what I meant. I read every word but didn't respond. His voicemails were worse, 23 in 3 days, swinging from anger to tears to pretending nothing happened. My favorite was a forced, cheerful one. Hey babe, new restaurant downtown. Want to check it out tonight? Call me. As if he hadn't hurled venom at me weeks before. Then came the friends. Jessica called first, her tone casual but pointed. Look, Antonia, Gordon can be harsh, but he's really struggling without you. Maybe he's up a bit. I kept my voice level. He asked for space. I'm giving it. Monica was blunter. You're being cruel. He's not eating. He's falling apart. I'm not being cruel, I replied. I'm being absent. Exactly what he wanted. Then Heather surprised me with something close to honesty. He screwed up, but he doesn't know how to function without you. You were everything, Antonia. Maybe he didn't get that until now. I paused, letting her words linger. Maybe, I said finally, but that's his lesson to learn, not mine to teach. As Gordon's world unraveled, mine blossomed. Pottery class became a highlight, clay under my nails, laughter filling the studio, the thrill of creating something new. At night, instead of racing to fix Gordon's crises, I painted. Colors spilled onto canvas like old friends I'd rediscovered. For the first time in years, my phone buzzing felt like background noise, not a tether. But I won't pretend it was all easy. Late at night, I'd stare at the ceiling, wondering if he could change, if he'd finally see my worth. Then I'd recall how he looked me in the eye and called me pathetic, and my silence would solidify, like armor around my heart. By week 3, Gordon wasn't just unraveling, he was imploding. When silence didn't break me, he tried to break everything else. It started on a Tuesday night at 11 p.m. I was half asleep when pounding shook my door. "Antonia, I know you're in there. Open up." His voice was raw, torn between fury and desperation. I sat frozen on the couch, heart racing. For a moment, I considered opening the door. Then his words, clingy, pathetic, replayed in my mind. I walked to the door but didn't unlock it. "Gordon, you wanted space," I called through the wood. "I'm giving it to you. Please leave." "I didn't mean this," he shouted. "I meant less texting, not vanishing completely. You called me pathetic for supporting you." He kicked the door, the frame shaking. "You're psychotic, manipulative. Leave, or I'll call building security." Silence hung for a long moment, then his footsteps stormed off, echoing down the hall. My neighbors peeked out the next morning, their eyes full of unasked questions I didn't bother answering. The next day, a different blow hit. HR at my office called me in for a wellness check. An anonymous email had claimed I was unstable, possibly a risk to myself or others. I sat across from my manager, hands steady, voice calm. "Let me guess. The email came from a new account, no identifying details." She nodded, uncomfortable. So I showed her Gordon's messages, the insults, the begging, the blame shifting. The pattern was clear. HR's expression softened from suspicion to empathy. "We'll document this," they said. "This is clearly harassment." It should have shaken me, but it only confirmed how far Gordon had fallen. Then came the smear campaign. One morning, my phone pinged with a notification. Gordon had posted a long, dramatic Facebook essay about toxic partners and emotional manipulation. He didn't name me, but anyone who knew us could read between the lines. His friends chimed in, commenting about how men deserve better, how women can be just as abusive. I didn't respond. I didn't even screenshot it. I just logged out and picked up my paints. By evening, I had a half-finished canvas, a bold streak of red against black. But Gordon wasn't finished. The backup subscription for his laptop, which I'd set up and paid for, had lapsed weeks ago. Without renewal, everything crashed. 3 weeks of work gone. A colleague later told me Gordon had a meltdown in the office bathroom and left early. His boss suggested he take time to get himself together. Meanwhile, my phone lit up with more texts. "Antonia, I can't do this alone. I didn't realize how much you handled. Please, just one call. You've made your point. Come back. You're killing me with this silence." But I'd learned something Gordon never saw coming. My silence wasn't killing me. It was saving me. It had been nearly a month of unanswered texts, late-night door pounding, and social media posts painting me as the villain. Then, out of the blue, a text came from an unknown number. "Antonia, it's Gordon. Using my work phone. Please don't ignore this. I'm not asking you to come back. I just need closure. Can we talk just once?" The tone felt different, not demanding, not angry, but broken. I stared at the screen, thumb hovering. Against my better judgment, I typed one word. "When?" His reply was instant. "Now, tomorrow, whenever you'll see me. Please." The next afternoon, we met at a quiet cafe 2 blocks from my place. I walked in, heart steady, grounded in silence. He was already there, hunched over a coffee, hands shaking. I barely recognized him. The man who once wore crisp suits and pricey watches looked hollow, shirt wrinkled, eyes shadowed, nails chewed raw. He'd lost weight. When he looked up, his voice broke. "You look good. Happy." I sat across from him, hands folded neatly. "I am." He stared at the steam rising from his cup for a long moment. "Then I need to know why. Why total silence? Why disappear?" I tilted my head, meeting his gaze evenly. "You said I was clingy, pathetic, that I had no life outside you. So I gave you what you wanted, space, my absence, my silence." He flinched at the word pathetic. "I didn't mean it like that. I was frustrated. Jessica and Heather were talking about their boyfriends being independent, mysterious, and you were always there, always helping, always reliable. It made me feel guilty like I owed you. My laugh was sharp, cutting. You felt guilty because I supported you. His face crumpled. I didn't know how to handle it. I felt like I was drowning in how much you gave. I thought pushing you away would make me feel free. Free, I echoed. So you called me pathetic. I was angry. I didn't mean stop. My voice was steady, sharp. You meant every word. Maybe not how you intended, but you meant them. Because that's who you were in that moment, a man who saw love as suffocation, loyalty as weakness, showing up as pathetic. His eyes welled up, no performance, just raw remorse. I ruined everything, didn't I? He whispered. I leaned back, breathing slowly. No, you revealed everything. Who you are, how you view people who care for you. And once you see that truth, you can't unsee it. He leaned forward, desperation etched in every line. Can we try again? Please, Antonia, I'll change. I swear. I looked at him, the man I once pictured a future with, the man I nearly bought a watch for as a symbol of forever. Then I shook my head, calm and final. No, Gordon, not for me. Change if you want for yourself, for the next woman who gives you a chance. But not for me. His hand reached for mine across the table, clammy and trembling. There won't be a next woman. You were perfect. I pulled my hand back, slow but firm. I wasn't perfect. I was present, and that should have been enough. His tears fell silently into his untouched coffee. I stood, grabbed my bag, and walked out. Through the cafe window, I saw him slump in his chair, like the air had left his body. For a moment, guilt tugged at my heart. But then I remembered, guilt was the chain that kept me bound to him for years. And I was done being tied down. It's been 2 months since that cafe meeting. 2 months since I walked away for good. In that time, I've learned something Gordon never taught me. But silence did. My life is mine. It shows in the small things. My mornings are calm, sipping coffee by the window as the sun rises, not jumping to answer texts about car troubles or Wi-Fi issues. Weekends, once consumed by Gordon's urgent projects, are mine to shape. Pottery class isn't just a distraction, it's joy. I've sold 3 bowls and a vase at the local market. The first time someone paid for something I created, I nearly cried. I'm painting again, canvases bursting with color, my apartment alive with pieces of me. And there's someone new, Adrian. We met at pottery class. He's kind, warm, and laughs with his whole body. He doesn't need me to fix his life, and he doesn't make me feel small for showing up. When I cook dinner, he washes the dishes. When I'm having a rough day, he notices before I say a word. It's not perfect, but it's partnership, balanced, mutual. As for Gordon, I don't ask, but fragments of his life reach me through friends. He moved to a smaller apartment, unable to keep up with his old one's maintenance. He sold the BMW and bought a used Honda Civic. His career has stalled, no longer the rising star he boasted about, now under stricter oversight at work. Word is he's in therapy. Part of me hopes it helps. Part of me doesn't care. His mother called once, her voice shaky. Antonia, I'm so sorry for what Gordon put you through. I raised him better. I replied gently, it's not your fault. Sometimes people have to face the consequences of their choices. And that's the truth. Gordon's words, clingy, pathetic, still linger, but they don't wound anymore. They remind me that the wrong person will always twist love into weakness. But the right person will see your devotion as rare, precious. I think about that a lot, about anyone who might be where I was, sitting in silence, staring at a phone, wondering if their care makes them too much. To them, I'd say, when someone tells you you're too much, believe them. Then stop being enough for them. Become nothing in their world, and watch your own world flourish. Gordon wanted space. I gave him every inch of it. And in that vast emptiness, I found something he could never give me myself.